Hello, fellow Movie Crusaders, and welcome to another episode of Sean's Movie Crusades. My name is Sean Wasserkrug, and today we're doing one of the famous lists of the end of the year, and that is worst films of 2019. I know a lot of you like it when I go off about movies, especially when they're bad. And I do know that a lot of people were upset with me last year when I did my worst of 2018, and the top two movies were movies that I did not see because I knew how bad they were going to be. So I took that under advisement and decided that this year's worst list is only going to be films that I have seen. So yes, no, there will be no Cats on this list because I have not seen it yet. So if you're wondering, how is Cats not on the worst list of 2019? Because I haven't seen it. These 5 movies that I'm going to be talking about are movies that I have actually watched and put myself through having to see, and they are clearly, in my opinion, the worst 5 of the year. Not to say that there aren't worse movies out there that came out this year, because I'm sure that there are, but these are the 5 movies that I have seen. Now, I try my best not to go out of my way to see bad films, so if there are certain films on here where like, I like that movie or that movie wasn't that bad, that's because these are just the 5 worst films that I've seen this year. Now, like I said, there are probably a ton of films that have come out this year, whether it be on Netflix, Amazon Prime, or in actual theaters that are atrocious. But I didn't see those films either because A, I knew they were going to be bad, aka what I did last year with Gotti and Holmes and Watson. So I don't care to go see bad films. So these top 5 are literally movies that I went out of my way to go see, and they were just dreadful. I did want to go see Cats, though, because I feel like I needed to see that train wreck, but I have not gotten to see it yet, nor do I think I'll get to see it anytime soon, because I just don't want to put myself through that kind of torture. So these are the 5 worst films of 2019 for me personally, starting off with the most latest one, The Addams Family. This movie didn't need to be made. it really, really did not. I hated this movie. I went in watching it with low expectations because, frankly, the cartoon trailers never looked good. The voice cast looks solid. Like, it's got a solid voice cast. You got Oscar Isaac as Gomez. You got Charlize Theron as Morticia. Chloe Grace Moretz as Wednesday. Finn Wolfhard as Pugsley. Nick Kroll is Uncle Fester. Snoop Dogg is it, but he literally had nothing in the film besides him just playing a Snoop Dogg video. You had Allison Janney, Martin Short, Catherine O'Hara, Titus Burgess, Elsie Fisher. I mean, the cast was great. That's not the problem with this film. The problem with the film is that the story is ungodly boring. You got, and I guess, spoilers in this as well in this video, because I just don't care about these films enough to worry about spoiling these films for you. But it's such a boring movie. It has none of the fire or the compassion that even the movie the 1990s Addams Family films had. It was a bore of a film. Everyone just kind of looked like they were sleepwalking through it. I mean, yes, they are playing kind of a dour characters because they're the Addams Family, but God, they still just had no emotions to this film at all. Like, you have this subplot story about Pugsley kind of going through like the Addams Family version of a bat mitzvah. It's ridiculously dumb. It's not enjoyable at all. The animation's also not that great. They try to go this like super, not techie, but they try to go with like this mindset of like the Home Shopping Network kind of character with Allison Janney, and because the Addams Family are different, that they make her town look bad because she built the town. She's one of those like build houses kind of not Home Shopping Network, but you know what I'm talking about. She's one of those characters. It didn't work. You also have this other subplot with Wednesday kind of trying to be normal, which that was never what Wednesday was about. Wednesday was about being Wednesday Addams and breaking the norm and trying to not be like everyone else. And even though they didn't really fully go that route with her, but she mostly did it out of spite for Morticia. Also, not really something that the Addams Family do. Morticia and Wednesday tend to really get along as characters, so to put them at odds really just didn't work for me. Like I said, having Snoop Dogg as it literally was just there to throw a rapper name in, but he really has no lines in the movie. It's just that when he drives up, he plays Snoop Dogg music. Nick Kroll, who I like in a lot of things, I thought was horrible as Uncle Fester in this movie. He was a dread to watch every time he was on screen, and his voice was annoying as hell. Addams Family Values, one of the worst films of the year. Do not recommend it. Would not make me watch this movie ever again. Even though I love Oscar Isaac and Charlize Theron and Chloe and Finn and all them, this was definitely one of those movies where you had an all-star cast of great voice casting, but a horrible script, a horrible plot, and a horrible direction, thus showing you that just because you have great actors, it doesn't equal a great movie. So yeah, Addams Family at the number 5 spot. Number 4, it goes to a Netflix film that I was actually really excited for. The trailer. When this trailer came out for this movie, I was genuinely excited to see this and see what it was going to become, and that is Velvet Buzzsaw. The uniqueness of what this film was in that trailer. Like, go and watch that trailer for Velvet Buzzsaw. It looks fantastic. You got Jake Gyllenhaal, who's like this art critic who's like kind of an asshole, very judgmental because he's being a critic. But then there's these very particular paintings that this guy had made who had passed away. So they take the paintings and they try to sell them on their own. But there's some supernatural things going on with these paintings. The red is actually the guy's blood that he was drawn in. So it's like he's in the paintings kind of haunting people. It has a great, unique plot. Like, it should work on all levels. You also have Toni Collette, who, like I said, was phenomenal and should have won Best Actress last year in Hereditary. You also have Renee Russo, Natalie Dyer from Stranger Things, John Malkovich, Daveed Diggs. Like, there's a great cast in this as well. But the movie is just utterly boring. It's not anything that's enjoyable about the film. It's very pompous because of, I guess, maybe it being artsy. But it's just not good. Like, there are good moments in the movie. Like, there's some cool shots, some cool visuals that they do. But ultimately, they're few and far between. And when they aren't doing those things, the movie is incredibly hard to stay with, especially with being a Netflix film, because you can be doing all these other things while watching it. You could be on your phone, you could be on your laptop, you could be talking with anyone in the room. This movie was doing a very, very poor job of trying to keep your attention on the screen and not trying to do other things. Also, I thought Zoe Ashton, who plays Josephina, horrible. She's practically the main character in this film outside of Jake Gyllenhaal, and I thought her performance was atrocious in this movie. Could not stand her whenever she was on screen, which made it even worse because she was one of the main characters of the film. Every time she was on screen, the movie just immediately went downhill for me. Like I said, some cool visuals with the art stuff, but it was, like I said, few and far between. The rest of the film is incredibly boring. Not even Jake Gyllenhaal and his great performances could save this film, or even Daveed Diggs, or even John Malkovich. And they completely waste John Malkovich. There's no reason for Malkovich being in this film outside of they just wanted John Malkovich to be in this movie. And then they had a weird post-credits kind of dance on the beach with him that had also, like I said, no purpose in the film. But yeah, Velvet Buzzsaw, definitely stay away from that if you guys have not seen it. But definitely one of the most intriguing trailers, but a horrible film. Going to the number 3 film of the year, this one just kind of pissed me off when I was watching it. I don't think I've ever, outside of the number 2 film, I don't think I've ever sat in a theater so much in one time this year just going, and that is Cold Pursuit. Liam Neeson, I love Liam Neeson. He's Liam Neeson. Cue the Key and Peele sketch about Liam Neeson. He is my shit. But this movie does not work. And it's not Liam Neeson's fault. This is kind of a remake from, I think it's Sweden or Switzerland film by the same name. This movie is just so not good. This movie gave me a headache. And not in like a, oh, like it's very loud. It's just because it's just stupid. The way it was shot, like I get it's a remake of the foreign film, but it didn't work for me. Everyone in this film, outside of Liam Neeson, is either overperforming or underperforming. The main guy, the main villain character, I think it's Tom Bateman. He plays Trevor. Yeah, Tom Bateman. Oh my God, this dude was cheesing up the screen every time he got. It's like he was trying to be Patrick Bateman or Christian Bale playing as Patrick Bateman from American Psycho, but he was failing at every moment he had. Then there was this Indian group subplot going into it, and then you had basically Liam Neeson trying to be kind of like doing his own version of Taken, but it's like in Colorado, and he's a snow kind of plower guy, because he's trying to get a vendetta because his son OD'd, or his friend's son OD'd. It's been so long since this movie came out. I don't care to remember it as much. But yeah, he's trying to get the revenge on the people who killed his son. And he just basically goes off on a Taken tangent, just starts murdering everybody around that's connected to his son's murder. Laura Dern is completely wasted in this film. Like, you put her in this film and then you didn't even really use her. She's a non-factor in the film. I don't think there's really anyone else in the movie worth mentioning outside of, those characters. But it's just, every time they killed someone, they did like a tomb, they would fade to black and do a tombstone for that character, which was just a weird artistic approach. Like, I commend them for trying something new, but it just did not work for me. And every time that something like that would happen, it just took you out of the film, because it was like a 5 to 10 second like reset every time they did it, and it happens like 20 times in the film. Just did not work for me. I despised everything about this film. I despised the performances. I despised the story. I just could not get into it. I get that this was a great foreign film. I think Stellan Skarsgård played Liam Neeson's character in the original, but damn, this movie was awful. And it was for a few months, it was the worst film of the year. But it dropped down to number 3 because these other 2 movies were just so much worse than Cold Pursuit. Going to the number 2 movie, this is definitely the worst film that was theatrically released. I was so excited for this film. I really wanted this film to do well because of the people in it. And it ultimately failed in every aspect that you could possibly fail in, and that is Hellboy. Oh my God, Hellboy is a dumpster fire. Like, this is such a bad movie. I wanted it to do so well because I love David Harbour from Stranger Things, and he was going to play Hellboy. I was like, yes, let him do something big. Let him not just do Stranger Things. Let him actually grow. I mean, he's in other movies, but it's like, this was his like title role. Like, let David Harbour do something fantastic. And I wanted it to be so good. You had Mila Jovovich, who, she tries. She definitely tries. But she was in it, and you had Ian McShane playing the father role. It was kind of a reboot of the Hellboy franchise, which I actually really enjoy the Hellboy franchise by Del Toro, with Ron Perlman as Hellboy. So I was kind of excited going into this, but this movie was just trash. The CG looked bad. They couldn't decide whether Hardball wanted to be a stoner teenager, a moody teenager, or what. Like, every 5 minutes, he was a different kind of teenage version of himself. They couldn't pin down what they wanted Harbour to do. Ian McShane had zero chemistry with him as a father and son dynamic, like, which was nothing compared to the original Hellboy with John Hurt and Perlman. Like, you believe that father-son dynamic, and when John Hurt's character passes away in the film, you understood and you believed the sadness in Ron Perlman's eyes. When inevitably Ian McShane's character passes away, you don't buy any of the emotion coming off of Harbour in this film, because their characters, they just didn't seem like they liked each other in the entire film. Like, they constantly were just at odds. Hellboy was kind of a douche through most of the film, and Ian McShane was just kind of over it. And so you never really cared for their characters together. Mila Djokovic, she knew what movie she was in. She knew she was in a trash movie, and she's the best part of the movie. But even her performance wasn't good. It's just she's the only one that actually seemed to know what movie she was in and cheesed it up as she could. The fighting in the film was atrocious. There's literally a treadmill run, which anyone who knows what that means is when the character is literally running with a screen behind him on a treadmill to make it look like he's running fast, but he's not. It's literally him standing still and the screen going on behind him, which in 2019, with a budget that you gave this film, that is inexcusable. It looks cheesy. It looks bad. And that was at one point of this movie where I literally just wanted to give this movie the middle finger and walk out. I never walk out of movies, but there was at least 3 or 4 times in this film that I wanted to get up and walk out of this movie. But I stuck through to the end, and I really wish I hadn't, because this movie never got better. It got profusely gory for no reason except to try to just make the film more entertaining, and it didn't. It just seemed unnecessary. And I'm not a guy I like gore when it helps the script, be better. But this gore was just, let's just totally shred this dude's skin off of him because it looks cool, not because it helps move the plot. Or we have what's her name? I'm blanking on it. There's a particular character in the film. She's buddies with Hellboy, or she partners up with Hellboy. I'm blanking on her name. Like I said, I really don't care. Where she communicates with the dead, and instead of it just being like a simple, there's a ghost right there, and they talk, she has to puke up like this alien-looking thing to look like the ghost. It's needlessly gory for no reason, and it was just, the plot was stupid, the acting was horrible. Honestly, you know what the best part of this movie was the post-credit scene. The post-credit scene was the best part of this entire film, and at that point, way too late in the movie for me to actually like something, to try to set up the sequel, which will never happen. They will never make a sequel to this movie, which sucks, because I like Hellboy, and I feel like Harbor, it's not like he couldn't do a good job with this movie. I just don't think he was directed properly. And I think the script made no sense. And there just wasn't the right kind of people in charge. It wasn't like a Del Toro who could make sure everyone was doing what they were supposed to be doing. This film just felt like there was no direction. The script was going all over the place. The CGI is bad. The fighting sequences were bad. The gore was unnecessary. The acting was atrocious. And that's why it's one of the worst films of the year. And I think it's on a lot of people's worst lists. But it's definitely the worst film that came out in theaters this year. Luckily for itself, it's not the worst movie of the year, because there was a movie that came out on Netflix that I was told to watch, and oh god, it was atrocious. And that goes to the number one movie, worst movie, not number one movie, the number one worst movie of 2019 goes to Polar. I was told by my best friend to watch this movie, and now I realized that he was trolling me. He said, this movie's great. You're going to love it. It's super action heavy. And it's got Mads Mikkelsen in it. And I was like, okay, cool. That sounds like a great idea. Let me pop that in and watch it. Oh my God, this movie's so bad. Polar, it's based on a comic book. It's about like an assassin who retires, and then because he retires, they try to kill him, and then there's a subplot with this girl, and so he then has to protect the girl from all these assassins. It's like, we've seen this story before. The cast is god-awful. I wanted to shut this off 20 minutes in. It's over-the-top sexual. It's over-the-top cartoony and cheesy. They literally have one point in the film where the assassins that are hunting Mads Mikkelsen's character, who plays, his name's Duncan, they literally find a kind of super obese guy who can't get out of his chair, and they just proceed, just because he's fat, to shoot him like 50,000 times. And because he's fat, and you got to watch that whole thing. It's like, it's supposed to come off comical and funny, but it just came off bad. There's a very, very, very overly long sex scene between Mads Mikkelsen and I want to say it was Catherine Winnick, but it could be someone else on the cast list. Could have been Anastasia. Just like something that you would watch softcore porn. kind of sex scene. Like, just like, let's have Mads have sex with this girl in every position, have her completely be visual. Let's look at Mads Mikkelsen's butt. Let's pretty much show you everything except for the main areas to not make this a porno. Oh, yeah, and let's let the scene be, 1 to 3 minutes long, which for a sex scene is a really long time on picture. And it's very hardcore, to the point where it's comically, like, funny how long this sex scene goes. Vanessa Hudgens, she plays Camille, and she's the like young woman that Duncan is trying to protect. She's fine in it, but I don't believe their chemistry. Like, there's like a father-daughter chemistry, and then there's also like a weird sexual chemistry between them. It does not work. The action sequences aren't good. I will admit, though, the second half of the film is better than the first half, but it's still not great. But the first half is so horrifically bad that nothing in the second half can literally make it work. And that's why Polar is easily the worst film of the year. All of these movies are bad. Yes, are there other movies out there that are probably worse than these? Probably not worse than Polar or Hellboy, but sure, there probably are. But these were the movies that I watched this year that it was the hardest to get through. I was mad watching these movies. I was annoyed that I wasted my own time to watch these movies. And I strongly recommend, unless you really want to watch some crappy films, don't watch these movies. None of them are worth mentioning. None of them are worth wasting your time on. And that is why they are on the worst films of 2019 list. I hope you guys enjoyed this review or this list in terms of me basically just butchering these films. And if you guys did, go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys feel like this video is worth sharing, go ahead and hit that share button. But most importantly, don't forget that subscribe button to the channel so you guys stay up to date with all the latest videos that pop up on Sean's Movie Crusades. And of course, don't forget to follow us on all the social media outlets you see below. Coming up next, another kind of negative video. It is the most disappointing films of 2019. So be on the lookout for that. And we also will have the most surprising films of 2019. A lot of list stuff coming out. So be on the lookout for that, as well as any new reviews popping up. I just did a mass review where I reviewed 7 films in one video. We might be doing another one of those because there's still a lot of movies to watch and try to cram in by the end of the year. And then, of course, we'll have our big end of the year video coming out. And then we'll also be doing a decades video where we'll be going over the top films of each year of this past decade. So be on the lookout for that. But yeah, until next time, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, and good night, Movie Crusaders.